Hey everybody, welcome to episode 1 of Talking Habs The Video Podcast. Yeah, I didn't announce it. It's an idea I had. I'm giving it a try. So on this show, which will be every week it'll come out Wednesday or Thursday, depending, but it'll be every week, Wednesday or Thursday, probably Wednesday. What I'm going to do in this video, not video, this is a podcast. I'm going to answer your questions. So in this first episode, of course, I don't have any of your questions, but you guys have asked me questions on the live streams and all that kind of stuff. So I've made up questions for the first episode. And the difference here than a video that I would make is I'm going to basically just talk off the top of my head. I've made questions. I haven't prepared the answers. And that's just because it's the first episode. I could have prepared, but what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to ask you guys if you would leave questions down there in the comment section, and I will take 10 questions every week from you guys, and I will answer them, and we'll see how that goes. So it's going to be podcast style, just basically off the top of my head. I've got a list of things, and it's all Habs all the time. Yes, in this podcast, I will not be talking about other teams or the league. I'm going to give some Habs news of the past week, and we're just going to talk about situations that come up during the season, and we'll just talk about whatever's going on. And so we're going to start. We're going to start with news of the week. Oh, by the way, see my nice sign I made? Isn't that cool? Professional, eh? Hey, I do this all by myself, so what are you going to do? I try. Okay, so Habs news of the week. That'll be how I start off every podcast. And this week we have a trade that it doesn't take a player away from the team, but Cole Fonstad, who played for the Prince Albert Raiders, it was in the Memorial Cup last season, and the Raiders have a really good team and probably would have gotten far this season, but they traded Cole Fonstad to the Everett Whitecaps or something like that. The Everett Treetops. I'm not sure. Silver Tips, something like that. And the thing is now, Cole Fonstad's I think he's a center. I'm not sure if he's a center or a winger, but he produces points. He's a good player, produces points, and you can count on this guy. And Prince Albert Raiders, without him, I don't know if they're going to go far in the play. Honestly, I don't know. I think it affects their bottom line, as you say. But what they got back was a young player. Honestly, I didn't write the name down. And some draft picks. Picks for next season and the season after, I believe. 2 for next season and 1 for the season after. Now, over in Everett, Cole Fonstad, I don't know how it'll affect his development, but I mean, he's going to be, he's going to have a bigger role. He's going to have more responsibility. He'll have more ice time. He'll probably have higher point production. So it'll be good for him that way, but I don't know how far he'll go in the playoffs with that team. So Cole Fonstad was traded from the Prince Albert Raiders over to the Everett, I think Silver Tips is really what I think they are, something like that. So it was kind of an odd trade. I don't know what kind of sense that makes for Prince Albert to have traded him, but there you go. Noah Juleson last week was cleared to play and was sent to Laval. I haven't heard. I don't think he's been in any games yet, but he's apparently able to take contact and all that kind of stuff, that good stuff. So I imagine it's just a matter of time before we see Noah Juleson up on the big club. And I do believe we have a little bit of problems with the defense, which I'm going to talk about. So that's a good thing that Juleson has been cleared, and he's in Laval, and he's going to see some action, and we're going to find out if that eye injury and the subsequent time that he's missed and all that has affected his development at all. This next one, I don't know if it's a news item, but I don't know if it was on Twitter, but I came across something that was kind of, it's not going to happen. I don't see how, but somebody was saying that the Devils are actively trying to trade for Cole Caulfield to match him up on Jack Hughes' wing, because Hughes is right now is pointless in his first not sure, 4 to 6 games, somewhere in that area. He hasn't had a point that I've seen. And I imagine it's some fan just put, I don't know. I don't know the validity of this, but I just thought it was interesting that we could talk about it for a minute. There's no way. I cannot see any trade rumors that you're going to see for Cole Caulfield. I can't see that happening. I can't see Montreal not wanting to see what this kid can do for them. So anybody who's seen anything like that out there, don't freak out, because I think it's just, people just trying to get clicks or likes or whatever by being controversial. It's kind of dumb. They're not trading Cole Caulfield. So I think that's it. I had 3 items for the news of the week. So we're going to move on to the next items. Now, this one I get a lot. I get this a lot. And I guess I'm kind of at fault for why I get this question. Because last season, like everybody else, I was kind of down on Jonathan Drouin, even through the preseason. And I guess I wasn't alone. There were a lot of people that felt this way. Once the season started, of course, Drouin has had a very good start to the season. Even though I don't think he got any points in the last game. It was the first game of this season that he hasn't had a point. But he still played very well. He's playing really well away from the puck. I like what I see in Jonathan Drouin. The question mark on him is, yes, we've seen this before at the beginning of the season, and then he tails off. So the question I get all the time is, should Montreal trade Jonathan Drouin now, while he's hot and his value would be supposedly at its highest? And it probably is at its highest, but the point I'm going to try to make is, even though his trade value would be at his highest, you're still not going to get back what you think. You're not going to get back full value for a Jonathan Drouin, even if you trade him now while he's hot. And that's coming from me, who was talking about trading him at the end of last season and expecting a trade all through the summer. Now, what would it get you if you trade Jonathan Drouin? You wouldn't get back the same quality. So if you're creating a hole and you're taking a player who's really helping you right now, just imagine where they would be without Jonathan Drouin right now. He's definitely been at least a big part in one of those wins in those points for overtime. He's been a big part of this team so far. So trading him now creates a hole. So what you're going to get back if he's not as good as Jonathan Drouin, if it's more of a project or whatever, it's not going to help you. It's not. And you could say bringing in Paling and all that. Look what Nick Suzuki's doing right now. Yes, he's coming along. I'm not unhappy with him. But if you're talking about bringing in the rookies to replace a veteran like that, to fill a hole, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So, are they going to trade Jonathan Drouin? I really doubt it. If they're going to trade Jonathan Drouin, it will be at the trading deadline, and it'll be because, yes, he had that fall off again. If Jonathan Drouin can play the way he has been playing and be consistent all year, and in games where he isn't scoring, he's at least contributing in his effort level, in his defense, in his hustle, all that kind of thing, then Jonathan Drouin is going to be a major asset to this team. And do we fall for it again? That's what everyone's thinking. Are we going to fall for it and then he's going to... We have to. There's no choice, because we're not going to get back the value for Jonathan Drouin. It's going to not be what you think. It's my opinion. I could be wrong. Bergevin's been a good trader. I don't know, but I don't think he can work magic here. I think if he ends up having to trade him, he's going to, at the trading deadline, you get the best you can. But you know what? I'm not convinced that he's going to have a fall off. He's a young player. It's his 6th season. I think at this point, since you didn't trade him up to now and the season started, I think unless somebody really wants him and makes you an offer that's good, you got to keep him and take the chance that he has the fall off. And if he doesn't have the fall off, the benefits are, you make the playoffs, hopefully, and he performs in the playoffs and makes a difference. Because right now, he's definitely making a difference. So, should Montreal trade Jonathan Drouin now while he's hot and the value is at his highest? I say no. You don't trade him right now. Moving on to the next Item up for bids on The Price is Right. Ryan Poehling should be ready to be recalled. What should they do with Ryan Poehling? Now, I know everybody wants to see Poehling. I want to see Poehling. I saw just a couple of clips of him in practice in Laval, and his stick handling, he looks really good. He looked good in the games he played in camp. He looked good in rookie camp, all that stuff. So, Ryan Poehling, do I want him up here? Yes, as soon as we can. How do we do it? I don't think we're at the point, but it's coming. I think it's coming where he's going to make a decision, definitely on Cale Fleury, which we're going to talk about. Is he on there? Yes. That's up next in the next items. He's going to make a decision on Fleury. He's going to have to make a decision on Nick Suzuki. He's going to have to make a decision on a bunch of things, actually, because we're coming up to that point in another 2 weeks where we're at a month in, and that's when teams reevaluate and see if there's anything that they can do now, early in the season, that's going to make a difference. It's either demotions and promotions or a trade. So, what should be? I think Poehling will be recalled very shortly. I think, I honestly think this, and I'm a big Nick Suzuki. I'll just say guy because I can't think of the damn word. I honestly think you might see Nick Suzuki go down and Poehling come up. And at this point, I don't know if it's a bad thing. Yes, Nick Suzuki, I do believe, is starting to come along. But the game is a little too fast for him as far as on his offense. His defense is just fine. His, I can't remember the damn word. I'm old. Remember, I'm old. When he's expecting something to happen, whatever that word is. Yeah. And he knows a lot of times where that puck's going to be, and it almost came out, the word. So he's good there, but the problem I noticed in the last game is when he gets the puck, he gets rid of it right away. That, to me, is a sign of a guy who the game is moving too fast. When I was playing senior hockey, I'm not a very good hockey player. I played senior hockey for a couple of years a while back when in my 30s. And I was the captain of the team because I was willing to organize and get things going or whatever. And I did the same thing when I first started. Everybody was way better than me, even though it was just like sea level. It wasn't great. But they were all better than me. The game was so fast. But I'll tell you, 10 games in, it started to slow down. I would hold the puck a little bit. I wouldn't be so nervous about, I got to get rid of the puck. I could look around. I mean, these things happen. That's where I think Nick Suzuki is at. It seemed to me, every time he gets the puck, boom, it's off his stick right away. There's only a few flashes of where he holds the puck a little bit, and it's not much. And if you watch his OHL highlights, Nick Suzuki carries the puck and dangles, and I haven't seen any of that. So I think this is what it is, and I think going down to Laval, if this doesn't improve by the time he hits Game 9, then you got to send him down because you don't want to burn up a year of his ELC by playing him in 10 games, because then that burns up a year. So they can keep him all season. They can send him down after that. Doesn't matter. Once he plays 10 games, he's burned up a year of the ELC. So that's why they send the guys down after 9 games. And I think at that point, if Nick Suzuki is still tentative, playing, the game's too fast for him, you send him down, because the AHL game, while it's not as fast as the NHL game, it's faster than the OHL game, and it'll get him up a level. And working with Joel Bouchard cannot be a bad thing. Cannot. This isn't Sylvain Lefebvre that we had, if that was his name. He was horrible. We didn't develop a player. Joel Bouchard develops players. So it's not a bad thing. And Poehling will come back up. So I have a feeling it's going to be that. Suzuki's going to get, and Poehling are going to get exchanged. So Poehling will come up, and I think Poehling is ready, maybe a little more ready than Suzuki. The only thing with Poehling for me is that he played in the NCAA, and they didn't play a lot of games. He's not used to the schedule, so we'll see how that goes. But him and Nate Thompson, I mean, there's enough centers there that he doesn't have to play every game. He can sit in the stands every now and then, Poehling. So that's what I think will happen. So that's what I think is going to happen with Ryan Poehling. So that brings me to the next one, is should Nick Suzuki stay here or go to Laval? And I guess I pretty much just answered it in the Ryan Poehling thing. But if Nick Suzuki, I think he's played now, how many games have we played? We're 6 games in. I think he's got 3 more games to Show us what he's got. And really, look, I think Nick Suzuki is going to be a great player. I really do. I think he's going to be an elite level player. But I've seen many elite level players have to go to AHL. So it's no disgrace to have to go to the AHL. It's no disgrace to not have been ready this year and been playing 9 games and being sent down. He needs a little more seasoning. That's what it's all about. That's it. That's what it's all about. And I don't think for a guy on an ELC like that, he's making like 900 and something thousand. I don't think there's a salary difference for him when he goes down. Like I don't think he's on a 2-way contract. I'm not positive of that. But the reason I bring that up is that, so, you know, he's still getting paid. He's still got things to learn. He'd be probably the first one to tell you that. And I think it's a good thing. And I don't see anywhere else to make room to bring a guy like Suzuki up unless there's an injury, which there hasn't been. Now, we'll same thing about Cale Fleury. What are they going to do with Cale Fleury? He hasn't played in 3 games. The news out is that he will be playing tomorrow night. I'm recording this on Wednesday late, so you might see it on Thursday. He's playing the next game against Minnesota. I saw that on Twitter from good sources. It's a test. If Cale Fleury shows tomorrow that he deserves to stay here, he'll stay. If not, I believe he'll go down. What will come back? What? There are people. Who will come back up? It's kind of my next guy on the list to talk about, and I think it's a possibility. I just read an article by a guy I kind of associate with on Twitter. His name is Grant McCagg. He has a website called recruits.ca or something like that. He's a scout. He knows what he's talking about. Very smart guy. It's not to say I totally agree with everything he says, but this is something I was thinking about because I saw good things from Leskinen in the rookie camp, in not so much in the preseason, but I really liked him in the development camp. I like the fact that he's a very good offensive guy. He's going to help the power play. I like what I've seen on his offense, that's for sure. He needs a little work on defense. He may not be ready yet, but it's Otto Leskinen, who's kind of a dark horse here this season. But I think Otto Leskinen may be the answer that we need. And I agree with Grant here. He may be the answer to play with Weber. And if he's not, I think it's Kulak, but it might be. So I think Leskinen is going to get a call up if Fleury goes down. I don't think Noah Juleson is ready yet. I don't want to see Noah Juleson come up before he's ready. He hasn't played an AHL game yet, so anybody thinking Juleson's going to be called up, and I've seen this on Twitter, he just got sent down to get to rehab and get in shape. He hasn't had a preseason, nothing. So don't expect him that quickly. So if Fleury goes down, say by this weekend, I would have to think it's going to be Leskinen coming back up on the defense to see what he's got, to give him a shot. He may only play a game. He may only play a couple of games, but I think that's who they're going to give a shot. So Otto Leskinen, who was kind of, like I said, a dark horse, they found him at the, what do they call those things? The combines. They run a European combine, not a North America. They take part in both, but they have their own European one. That's what I mean to say. And they found him there, and that's why they drafted him. So just like Romanov was found the same way the year before. I think the kid's got a lot of talent. He's played against men for a while. He's been described. I don't know if it was I keep saying this. I should check it out if it's Ikonen or Elonen that played with him and said that he's a beast on the power play. So I can really see Leskinen getting a shot and seeing what he's got here. And look, if he's ready, he's gonna get time and he's gonna find a home. So before I move on to my next subject, I'm going to try to keep this in a half an hour. We're at 20 minutes. I like this podcasting. I'm not. When I do a video, I'm kind of either bound by a script or I've kind of got rules, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. But that's why I wanted to do this podcast, because I can just talk and whatever. It's just my ideas. It's not something I'm researching necessarily. More than likely it's not. I'm not going to research the subject. I'm going to tell you what I think about it. I couldn't have done this a few months ago because I was still learning and just getting my. I was away from the game too long, and I'm older, and I've got. Anyways, a lot of excuses for nothing. So just to say that I'm really enjoying this right now because it's kind of free and easy, and I like that. So I'm going to do here a nice free and easy ad for TubeBuddy. I haven't done one in a while. So TubeBuddy, for anybody out there who's watching me that is a creator, anybody that just likes to watch videos, and you want to know a little bit something about the channel, and it'll give you how many subscribers, how many views the channel has had overall, how many views that video's got, comments. It gives you a little bit of information. You might like that. If you do, just head down in my description. I've got a link for TubeBuddy. You click on that, and you can get it for free. And you never, ever have to upgrade the free version. So that's a very important point. But there's some paid versions. I'm on the lowest one right now. And it's really great. Try it out. It'll help you with your thumbnails if you don't have another way to do it. Like when I started, I didn't. So I'm used to this system, and I kind of like it. It'll help you with your SEO, which is search engine optimization. And that's helping you get your titles done properly, making sure your description is all good. Tags are not so important. I just found out they're not that important anymore. You need a few of them, but they're not as important. But it'll help you with stuff like that. And once again, like I said, the free version never has to be upgraded. You get it for life, and you can keep it that way. So head down there in the description. TubeBuddy. It's my buddy on YouTube. Yeah, I wrote that. I know it's corny. Okay, so that's TubeBuddy. Like David Letterman. Throw it. Okay, so let's get back into the podcast. If I had music, I would play it, but I don't do music and I don't do clips. There's a reason. I don't want to get copyright infractions. If you get a copyright strike, not great. If you get 3 of them, bye-bye channel. So I don't do any of that right now. Maybe in the future when I learn more about copyright, I would, but I would have music here right now if I could. Okay, so, there's something I wanted to look at. The Tampa Bay game, we lost 3-1. Did we outplay Tampa and lose? We outshot them. Now, you'd look at that game and say, well, we lost 3-1. I watched the game, and I kind of thought, man, Tampa kind of outplayed them a bit. But if you look at, there's some stats out here. I had them lined up. Did they change it? Oh my God, where am I? Where's my article? Yeah, here it's coming. It's not. Oh my God. I just talked about this and I don't know how I'm going to find this. Okay, well, I'm just going to, here it is, right in front of my face. So there's these advanced stats that must be offline. My computer, I think my video card is, not video card, my Wi-Fi card and my laptop's not very good, and my modem's in a couple rooms over, and sometimes it just logs me off. Okay, it's telling me I want more. I click view more, and it gave me nothing. Nothing. This is great when you try. Here, I got it now. Okay, so these are advanced stats. I don't know where they come from. I honestly don't. Let's see. From Sport Logic, and instead of Logic with a C at the end, it's a Q. So I don't know if that's a website or whatever. So here's some of the stats that stood out from the 3-1 loss to Tampa Bay Lightning on Tuesday in a game where you might have thought that they were outplayed. The offensive zone time of possession. To me, it seemed like Tampa Bay had more, but actually when I think back on it, that's an illusion because they did have. Tampa Bay had 4 minutes and 19 seconds in Montreal's zone over the whole game. Montreal had 7 minutes and 50 seconds in Tampa's zone. It's almost double. I mean, Max Domi led. I don't know how a player can lead, but I'm not going to give those stats. Slot shots on net. So that's shots from the slot, which is that area just in front of the net below. Well, right around where the face-off circles are. That's the slot right in there. Tampa Bay had 14. Montreal had 13. Only one less, which means they weren't outplayed there. Domi had 3, Tatar had 3, and Wheel had 2. Slot pass completions. So that's obviously passes made in the slot that were actually completed and not completed. Tampa Bay had 6, Montreal had 7, so we were 1 ahead of them. Not outplayed. Domi with 3, Suzuki with 2, Danault with 1. Scoring chances generated. Tampa Bay had 21, Montreal had 23. Still ahead of them on scoring chances generated. Domi had 6, Tatar had 3, Suzuki had 2. LPRs, which are loose puck recoveries. This number surprised me. Just the amount of, not that Montreal had more. So that's loose puck recoveries. So the puck is loose somewhere, who recovers it? Tampa Bay had 256, Montreal had 286. For me, the striking thing in that number is that there's that many loose puck recoveries in the game. That seems like a lot to me. I don't know. So that's 30 more than Tampa there. And what that means is when you talk about first on the puck, well, that's first on the puck. They were more times first on the loose pucks. That's what that means. So if I ever say that, they got to be first on the puck, or you hear that, and you hear that sometimes on TV, that's what that means. So Jeff Petrie had 31, Sherrod had 26, and Weber had 22. And the odd thing about that is all 3 were defensemen. Controlled exits. Now that means getting out of your own zone in a controlled way, not in a crazy, chaotic way. So that's controlled nice passes or skating it out over the line. Tampa Bay had 53. Montreal had 91. And this is a problem that I thought Montreal had, is getting out of their zone. I guess not. Gallagher with 13, Drouin with 11, Tatar with 7. Controlled entries, those are entries into the offensive zone in a controlled way. That means carrying the puck, passing up to the line, carrying the puck over, or dumping it in and getting the puck. I'm not sure if that one is a controlled entry. I would have to think a controlled entry is carrying the puck over the line. Tampa Bay with 28 and Montreal with an astonishing 47. And I was going to say KK without looking, but Drouin led that with 8. And that's KK's line. And KK's known that he's good on the exits and the entries. That's something that he was leading the team with in preseason. I know he led the team with the most controlled exits and controlled entries. Yeah. Okay, so Suzuki with 5 and Danault with 5. Anyways, those are the stats that were picked out by the person who put this up. So to me, the surprise was I really thought they were overall outplayed, but they were not. What happened there was they ran into a hot goalie. And that's literally what happened. By those stats, you can see they ran into a hot goalie in Vasilevsky. If it wasn't for that, they would have had a few more goals. If they could connect it on a couple of power plays, I mean, just, So Montreal, everyone's putting them down. They lost and all that. Well, I don't know. It's just a hot goalie. A hot goalie, what are you going to do about a hot goalie? You can't solve a hot goalie sometimes. It's a killer. Everybody runs into them every now and then. So that's what happened there. So I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was very interesting. Also, I wrote this down. I should have read it. I'm wondering, did they lose because of size? And I say this because I have had that conversation with some of my subscribers on comments and on the live stream. And I have a feeling that might be a contribution. Montreal has 6 of their top forwards. Top 6 of their 12 skating forwards are under 6 feet. And Tampa, they're big guys. St. Louis, they're big guys as well, and we beat them. So the point for that is that when you're a little smaller, it's harder to be consistent and win, and that's going to even be worse in the playoffs. So Montreal needs to get a little bigger. Bringing in Ryan Poehling is going to help solve that problem. He's going to be a little bigger, although not that Suzuki's that small, but he's under 6 feet. Okay. Lineups in practice today. That's another article here. So the lineups today were there's a little change. Let me see if I can get to that. Yeah, there we go. The change here is they've moved Byron off of the left wing on the 4th line, and they're putting Byron and Wheel. Wheel and Byron are exchanging. So Suzuki's not gaining second line. yet, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them from that. People are talking about Julian. We're 30 minutes. I'm gonna go a little over. Oh well. They're talking about Julian and saying they should be fired because he mishandles players and Suzuki. You know what? I don't think he's mishandling Suzuki. You watch the games, and Suzuki needs to have the game slow down for him before he can be on a top 6 role. Straightforward. That's it. And I picked him in a hockey pool. I'm suffering on that. But it turns out Suzuki needs a little more seasoning. Whether he can get that seasoning in the NHL by playing on the 4th line, which it may work, because even with Wheel there, you have a guy that's got speed and can get it around and can work with Suzuki and his passing and get him up to speed. Literally, that's what he needs to get up to. So I don't mind him on the 4th line as long as he's getting his 10, 12 minutes and he's playing on the power play, so that gets him some more ice time, and he's doing good on the power play. Power play can help him out. So that's a line change. On defense, there's no change. There's no change. Oh boy, I'm going to go pretty long. Can the D be improved without a trade? Can the defense be improved without a trade? I'll try to be quick about this. I think they can be. One of the ways I just talked about earlier was Otto Leskinen. Otto Leskinen may be able to come up here and make a difference on the power play, and he may be a kind of player that can play with Weber. But that's a stretch we don't know, right? He's also a young kid, and we don't know what he can do and if he can do it for the full season. So how do we do it with the guys that are here? And I say it's this. I think Weber is playing too much. Point final. Got to change the lineup pairings to who's first pairing and who's second pairing. And I think third pairing, I think we found the spot for Sherratt, because Sherratt seems a lot more comfortable in third pairing. And me personally, I don't mind Folan. I know Folan's not the best, but Folan is competent. Till we get somebody up here that can replace Folan, I think Folan is competent. I'm surprised that Folan is in there because it's been confirmed that Fleury was going to play. So I imagine tomorrow it will be Sherratt Fleury. I don't know that I like that personally, but we're going to have to see. If Sherratt is good with the third pairing and he's more comfortable, it could work. So I think Petrie needs to be number 1 pairing. So Kulak and Petrie need to be the number 1 pairing. If they're not going to remove that from Weber and they're going to keep Weber there, then I really do, then maybe they need to try Kulak with Weber. I think Kulak, he played with Weber last year. His numbers were good. He plays with everybody. Kulak's numbers are good no matter who he plays with. Kulak's one of those players that adapts to his partner. I think it might work there. So if you're not going to remove Weber as the top guy, let's face it, he's 34. He might need to take a step down, and instead of playing 25 minutes a game, he plays 20 or 21. And I think that's a lot better for him. So that's what I would do. I would change that, and I would have if you're going to make Petrie the number 1, I think I would have Kulak with him. So Kulak and Petrie, put Mete and Weber as the second pairing, and you got Sherratt and Fleury or Folan or whoever is going to be up there, right? I think that's going to work a lot better, and I'd like to see that that's a way to make the defense a little better without having to make a trade, without even calling anybody up. How can we improve the power play right away, right now? How do we improve the power play? And it's a very similar idea. What I think is that we need to make Jeff Petrie on the first wave. He needs to be on the first wave with Jonathan Drouin and Deneau. Those 3 guys, and I can refer you to a video. Draft Dynasty did a video analyzing the Habs power play and how to make it better. And if you analyze the numbers, and if you're a stats guy or advanced stats guy, analyze the numbers. Deneau, Drouin, and Petrie have really good numbers on primary assists. For Drouin, we know he led the team in power play points last season. By far led the team. He gets points on the power play. Petrie gets points on the power play, gets primary assists like Deneau does. Those 3 guys should be on the first wave, with Deneau at the net, with Drouin and Petrie on the point, and as long as Suzuki is here, Suzuki and KK, I'd like to see that. I don't know if it's going to work, but Suzuki and KK on the half walls. And see how that works. But I do believe Petrie, Drouin, Deneau have to be on the first wave. Weber has to be on the second wave Has to be. That's what in my opinion, stuff I've researched and read, this is one I've been thinking about for a while. Last but not least, in this podcast, everybody wants to know or says, fire Julian, fire Bergevin, they suck, they're horrible, look, they're ruining everything. I don't buy into that. For me personally, I don't think Julian's doing that bad. You can question what he's doing, but if you really think about it and analyze it, I do believe he's doing the right things right now. The only place I think he's making the mistake is what I just talked about, is on the power play, which is Muller actually, but since he's the head coach, Julian should be getting into that a little bit. But I think the power play and on the defense, he needs to juggle up his defense a little bit. But I don't think he's doing wrong by Suzuki. I think Suzuki's fine on the fourth line. Fourth lines get more minutes than they used to get. And by putting Suzuki on the power play, it gives him additional minutes. So I think that's fine. So no, I don't believe that Julian should be fired. And I don't believe that Bergevin should be fired. Bergevin has done a good job in the last 2 seasons. Yes, he wasn't great in the first 4 or 5 seasons. I get that. He made some bad errors. But you learn. I started YouTube 10 months ago. Go watch my first video. It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. But, excuse me, and it's not to say that I'm so much better, but I'm not stiff as a board, afraid to talk like a robot and quick and talk faster because you want to get it out. I don't do that anymore because I learned from 10 months ago. I'm a lot better than I was because I learned. Same thing for Bergevin. And look at the last couple of seasons. That cupboard is full of prospects that are good prospects, not where we talk about them and we're with rose-colored glasses think they're good and everybody else in the NHL around the league thinks we're nuts, and we are because we had garbage. Now we've got something to care about, something to look forward to. So Bergevin is not going, and even if they don't make the playoffs, Bergevin is not getting fired. I'm saying that. I don't know for sure, but I don't believe he will get fired, even if we miss the playoffs. We're going in the right direction. That's what matters, that we're going in the right direction. Sorry about that. I needed to have a drink. So I don't believe that. And now, can Julian be fired? Yes, of course, coaches can be fired. The problem here in Montreal is they believe they need a French coach. And there's not a lot out there, and there's not a lot that are better than Julian, if there are any. Got to say that. So I don't believe Julian's going to get fired. If they would take that away, that the guy doesn't have to speak French, then I would say, okay, yeah, there's probably better guys out there. But we're limited here in Montreal, and that's a problem. So, but should Julian be fired, or will he be fired? No, I don't believe he will. Unless we really do badly. If we come out, if we don't win, if we're below 500 by Christmas, his job may be on the line. I get that. But right now, no. And there's no reason. It's 5-6 games in, There's no reason. He's not doing that bad a job that you should fire him 6 games in. So I came to the end of my first podcast. Talking Habs, the video podcast. If you stayed, it's 38 minutes in right now. But it is a podcast, so I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave some questions in the comments down below. And I will take questions next week from the questions in the comments. If I don't get enough, I will make up a little bit more, but I will take 10 questions from the comments, the 10 that I pick out. Hopefully I'll get enough that I'll have more than 10. And they'll be on next week's show. So that's what we'll be doing. Well, it's me. So this is going to be a weekly thing. Every week. Hopefully you'll join in every week and watch the video and give a thumbs up at the end. And if you haven't subscribed, you can give a subscribe while you're down there. Subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Subscribe's right next to it. And then ring the bell. And that'll notify you of all the stuff that I got coming out. Videos, live streams, and now this podcast. So it's all good. It's all dedicated to the Habs. And you know what else it does? It gives you your daily fix of Bleu, Blanc, Rouge. So that's it for my first podcast, Talking Habs, the video podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.